Hey, Steve Minani here. Before we get to our junkyard crawl video for today, just a heads up, on October 1st, if you're in the Durant, Oklahoma area, I'll be there live at Spanky Assiter's inaugural Freedom Choctaw Collector Car Auction at the Choctaw Casino and Resort Event Center, again in Durant, Oklahoma, where a whole bunch of cool collector cars are going to get sold, many of them at no reserve. And I'll be on the stage live doing commentary. One of the best cars and most special cars in that event is going to be the actual 58 Chevrolet Impala, fully restored, that was once owned by Peggy Sue Gerron. Yes, that Peggy Sue, the star of several Buddy Holly songs. Pretty, pretty, pretty Peggy Sue. That was her 58 Impala. That car is going to get sold at no reserve, again, on October 1st at the inaugural Freedom Choctaw Collector Car Auction in Durant, Oklahoma, October 1st. Be there if you want to take a shot at that car and just check out a great auction. Okay, let's get right into the junkyard crawl here at Bernardston Auto Wrecking. Hey, Steve Minani here doing the junkyard crawl at Bernardston Auto Wrecking in Bernardston, Massachusetts. Now, a lot of folks say, you guys don't do enough American Motors products. Well, this is for you. This is actually a 1939 Nash, decades before American Motors became American Motors in the mid-1950s. But this 1939 Nash is named after Charles Nash, who was born in 1870 or so, and at age 53 in 1916 founded Nash Motors, named after himself. Now, Charlie Nash, at the age of 6, was abandoned by his parents and actually had to work on farms. And by the age of 12 or so, was working in a horseless carriage buggy company stuffing seats. By 1910, he ran Buick. So again, by 1916, Charles Nash started Nash Motors, which ran right into the mid-1950s when it became American Motors, and of course absorbed Hudson, the Hashes, all that stuff. But again, 1939, kind of a special year in a few ways. Now, this is also from the potato era of automotive styling, where they're just sort of big and round, from Chrysler all the way to Pontiac, Plymouth. Everything was kind of round in the Art Deco era. But again, this is a Nash 1939. Now, this is an Ambassador, which means that it's Nash's top-level car. Starting in 1927, the Ambassador was always the top-level car, often called the Kenosha Duesenberg, which meant, of course, Kenosha, Wisconsin, home of Nash, their top-level car, almost a Duesenberg, but not really. But again, the Ambassador was the big deal. But here's the thing. There was also a car called the Lafayette, which was an economy version of the Nash. So we have to go to the body tag here and see exactly what we're dealing with. On this one, we see it says 3920, and that means this is a 1939 6-cylinder Ambassador. If that said 3980, it would be an 8-cylinder Ambassador, and the fenders and the hood would be a little bit longer. Something kind of cool here, it says Seaman Body Corporation, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And again, Seaman was one of the suppliers to Kenosha-based Nash making their bodies. And again, this is the big one, the 4-door sedan. But again, being a 6-cylinder, the hood is a little bit shorter than it would be on the 8. Now, one thing about 1939 was it was a one-year deal. 38, the headlights were in pods up here, exposed. 1939, they finally went into the fender. But if you look here, it's kind of an interesting, this has been crunched, but it's a square shape. In fact, this one's a little bit cleaner, and you can see right here that the opening is square. 1940, it became round. So 1939 is a one-year fender with this squared off looking headlight surround. But again, this would have been a standalone pod in 1938. So 39 was the year that Nash really discovered streamlining front and rear. Of course, I love the hood ornament, Nash right there on the side, and very just cool stuff. Let's take a peek underneath this hood and see what we have. Okay, a big open void of nothing. This would have had a 234 cubic inch overhead valve, 6-banger with 105 horsepower. There was also a 234 cubic inch flathead with 99 horsepower, but that was only seen in the Lafayette, which again was an entry-level car. Now, we do see on this one frame rails with Swiss cheese cutouts and a beam axle with parallel leaf springs. This is not a unit construction car. That would come in 1942 when the separate frame became unitized and independent front suspension arrived for Nash. But again, 1939, it was all about body on frame, leaf springs, and beam axles front and rear. You've got to love these horns right here. You think of the Roadrunner's beep beep horn. Well, this is a little bit different. There's 2 horns, trumpet horns, left and right. And one's a little shorter, has a higher pitched note. One's a little longer, lower notes on that one. But those two things in harmony must have sounded pretty crazy. But crazy, that's factory equipment right there. Now this one, of course, is manual steering, manual brakes. There was no power steering, no power brakes, and no automatics. There's a 3-speed on the column. Let's look inside. You see here the 16-inch wheels, still wearing the original Nash wheel covers that are in pretty good shape. Look at that. And again, these are tube-type tires right here. The little trim ring's cool, the little dual pinstripes right there painted onto the wheel. A nice level of preservation amidst all the decay. And again, this is a 4-door. There were a variety of different bodies on the Ambassador. There were 2-doors, there were convertibles. This one, of course, is the 4-door family car. And suicide doors. They open with the hinges to the back. And inside, well, here we have it. This is the inside of the area. A lot of room. Still some wood construction seen on some areas. The burlap and horsehair and coil springs in the seats. You know, kind of interesting. Up front, we have a 3-speed manual transmission. The original key is still in the ignition lock, and it's a radio delete car. That chrome grille right there does not show any knobs, so this was not born with the radio, which was not that uncommon in 1939. But this is kind of cool right here. This is from 1969. This is the American Motors family album. Rambler, Jeffrey Nash, Ajax, Lafayette, Hudson, Essex, Terraplane, Ambassador, Marlin, Metropolitan, Rebel, AMX, and Javelin. But here it is inside of this thing. We see what this car looked like when it was new. And there it is in the bottom left page. 39 Nash model, 3920. Constance Moore, the movie actress, posed with this Ambassador 6 4-door sedan. Extensive appearance changes were made in the Nash and Lafayette lines that year. But again, see those square headlights right there for the first time integrated into the fender, whereas in 1938, you would see standalone headlights sitting like that on each side of the grille. So again, the Airstream or the streamline styling ethos was beginning to really take over. Of course, by 1951, Nash had that bathtub styling, which was, you know, after World War II. But this is about as good as it got in a Nash in 1939. And again, the humpback styling right here, you know, the evolution of the trunk, which literally was a steamer trunk that was secured down to a flat rack on earlier cars, became an integral part of the body, but this sort of humpback of Notre Dame, if you will. And we have to wonder what's in the trunk. Okay, let's take a peek here and look. Okay, that's either a dead something or some Owens Corning fiberglass insulation. That's not cotton candy, by the way. Yeah, that's Owens Corning fiberglass insulation. That's the kind of stuff that you don't want to rub on your body because you'll be itching for the next year. But there it is. Inside traces the original black paint, glossy, still shining. Look at that. And yeah, I mean, pretty commodious, as they say, trunk on this thing, which you could actually use as a commode. And I think somebody has on this one here. It's not looking too fresh in there. It does have a latch to keep it up. And we'll come over to here. We can see right here, to close the trunk, you do this little trick right here. You sort of pull that up and over, and out it comes, and down it goes. Exposed hinges, piano style, I guess, or just exposed chrome hinges. Kind of basic, of course. Detroit would very quickly begin to hide things like this in the name of streamlining and higher style. Of course, the rear window is a 2-piece affair with this delicate bridge between the rubber gaskets here rotting away, but that's how the window's secured in. And it says here, look at this, the date code on this glass. Herculite AS939, September of 1939. Date-coded glass in 1939 on this Nash. Just the devil in the details. Pretty crazy stuff. And speaking of details, look where the gas filler is. You know, we see like on an Imperial, it's hiding behind a panel. Here, it's out here for the world to see, driver's side rear. And there it is. You got to wonder, again, how many hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of gallons were poured into that right there. And during World War II, was this car subjected to the gasoline rationing? Probably was, almost certainly. And again, bald tires were standard stuff on all cars during World War II because the rationing of rubber for the war effort meant that people drove on bald tires and you couldn't do anything better. So this car, if it could talk, man, that's the thing. I love cars, except one thing, they don't talk. So we have to kind of give them a voice. But this 1939 Nash Ambassador was once a big deal. And 30 years later, in 1969, the Ambassador could be had with a 390 V8, 4-speed transmission, air conditioning, and how far Nash or American Motors or Rambler would come. You pick the name. But again, Charlie Nash, from a 6-year-old runaway to a millionaire who passed away in Beverly Hills in his mansion at 84 years of age in 1947. It's a pretty good life, but this is one of the many cars Charlie Nash helped to create. Now, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the SteamMag's YouTube channel, and we'll be back tomorrow with even more wonders from the junkyard.